Hi, Samir.
Hello, madam. Good evening. So nice to see you.
I know. I'm just
How are you
coping
feeling?
better.
Good, good, good. You are a fighter.
Now we are live. Okay.
Okay, okay.
So, good evening and welcome to one and all. I'm Shweta from Clarinet, the designated session assistant for a seamless experience of the session. Clarinet is very proud to be a digital partner for this event organized by Association of Adolescent and Childcare in India. And the topic of today's session is AACCI Week Celebration Day 2. Clarinet is India's most trusted and widely used digital platform with multiple enriching services exclusively for doctors. Let's begin today's session, for which I would like to hand over the session to Dr. Samir sir. Over to you, sir.
So, very good evening to all. And once more, the one more AACCI Week celebration is going on since 17th of the July. And this is the day 3 of today's this year's AACCI Week celebration. And we having a unique theme of grandparenting with Kal, Aaj or Kal. Before we start today's our session, I should take a privilege to introduce our own association, that is AACCI. It's a Association of the Adolescent and Child Care in India. Mainly, we work for our urban-based population, including the child and the youth. Our foundation has started in 2007 with a group of the doctors, including the pediatrician, physician, and all the other specialty. Our mainly work will be urban-based, along with the parents, teacher, and the student in the school and colleges. We having a two-pillar previously that include the parents and teacher. Since 2020, we are having one more pillar, that is grandparents we had added. And our mission is the holistic health in the children and adolescents and young adults, with promotion of the healthy lifestyle and prevention of the lifestyle associated diseases. We work with a workforce of the volunteers of the more than 250 across the India and also internationally also. They are working willingly with a totally voluntary free of cost for our aim and objectives, with unique 11 centers and 4 forums at the across the India. We already celebrating regularly International Adolescent Health Week and other weeks to do our own activity and the other activity, mainly aiming to the health of the adolescent and young adults. We just now celebrated our 15-year anniversary in the last year, 2022, and this is now 16th anniversary this year. Since 2021, we are celebrating this week regularly between the 18th to 25th. And this was the first year in 2021, we had celebrated our 14-year celebration. Last year, we dedicated and tribute our founder chairman with this celebration between 18th to 24th of the July last year. This year, we have taken one unique theme of that is the Kal, Aaj or Kal, mainly focusing on the role of the grandparenting in the development of our children and how they can contribute the thing. All volunteers are really enthusiastic to do work. We having a slightly doubt how the successful, but the first 2 days are going on very successfully. And also the launch few programs also done in different places along with the grandparents, having a day, all enjoy a lot during that programs. Yes, on 18th yesterday, we having one interview of the grandparenting couple, that ophthalmologist of Dr. Avinash Valenjikar and his wife, by having a topic of the parenting through the generations by our Navi Mumbai branch. We already having one more unique program that is related with the international program, what we can say, that is a grandparenting of new era, United States versus the Indian scenario. That will be, we are going to online on the 22nd of the July, this Saturday, between 7:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. And with our eminent speaker, we having a today's talk, that is the talk on dealing with a behavioral issue, mainly grandparenting with grand expertise. And for that, we having a very eminent speaker, a very well-known in our IAP and the across the India, Dr. Samir Hassan Dalwai, developmental and behavioral pediatrician and the founder and director of New Horizon Child Developmental Center of the India. He is editor in the chief of the IAP handbooks of the developmental behavioral pediatrics. His clinical attachment is at Nanavati Super Speciality Hospital. He is at presently treasurer of the Indian Academy of Pediatrics, trustee of the Yashwant Rao Chauhan Center, Mumbai. He was awarded a great award of the Rajiv Gandhi Manav Sevashram Award in 2012. Welcome, sir, for today's talk.
Hello. Thank you so much for your kind introduction. Thanks.
And
Good evening, madam.
And this is our joint venture with his own development center, New Horizon, having a almost 110 developmental pediatrician, clinic and counseling psychologists, occupational and physiological therapy, speech language therapists, and all the other stakeholders of the person who are involved in the child development related things. Along with him, we having our ever guided Dr. Swati Bhave, madam, the professor of Emeritus Adolescent Medicine in Dalwai Patil Medical College and Dalwai Patil Vidyapith, Pune, head of the Adolescent Clinic, Jahangir Hospital, Pune, and our executive director of the AACCI. She has so many awards and achievements that it is very difficult to complete within just a couple of the minutes. So I am just keeping her introduction because she is not required and bother for any introduction. So welcome, madam, for our own today's talk.
Thank you, Samir.
And along with both of them, myself, Dr. Samir Shah, consultant pediatrician, adolescent specialist at Samir Hospital and Narri Hospital, Vadodara. At presently, I am holding a national coordination post at the Association of the Adolescent and Child Care in India, and having a few more posts in IAP also. So let's begin our grand round of grandparenting with grand expertise, dealing with a behavioral issue with the Dr. Samir Dalwai. And it's over to you. Before that, I will just summarize what is the things what we are going to discuss. And for that, this is one of the very important questions that we are mainly dealing, and we are totally targeting at presently what is the different developmental issue and how the we can overcome with the grandparenting and grand expertise. So, Samir sir, this is a basic question that is everybody is in all pediatricians and all parents having this thing. What are the present developmental issues that is aided by the modern era of digitalization, mainly in form of the addition of new issues, change in the form of the present existing issue, and what are the intensity of change and that existing issue? So over to you.
Thank you so much. Is madam not going to speak something? If possible, you can request her to.
No, Samir, you're the developmental expert. You start the
Few-
thing
few-
and I'll
few
join
comments.
the answer.
Few comments from you.
No, I just wanted
The
to say that.
teacher has to speak.
Okay, thank you. We all know that developmental issues are increasing day by day in the last 10 years. And there are a lot of contributory factors. One of them being, of course, the different parenting which has now come in the new era. And also the digital world, which increases the screen addiction and gadgets and reduces the interpersonal communication. And this is very well seen in the early age when we know that children used to talk much earlier because they were spending a lot of time with adults in a joint family around them, and also were learning to walk and talk much earlier. And now we are noticing that because of nuclear families and very often parents being techies or being very busy with the computer, the child's developmental skills, especially talking, may be delayed. And if children are not allowed to write or use their finger coordination for the games which we played as skills, as building blocks and writing and thing, the skills which you start developing are not developing in the right manner. And the brain neurons use it or lose it. So if you don't use your brain neurons in the appropriate skills in a young age, it becomes more and more difficult to map them. And in UK, there was a big research where they found that in the nursery, the children were so used to using the mobile screen and just tapping that they found it very difficult to use a pencil and start writing. So these are a few comments, Samir, and I think your lecture will highlight and given in-depth discussion of all these issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Always wonderful to have Madam's words of guidance. And I'm a firm believer in the fact that the Guru's blessings, teachers' blessings are the next in the world after parents' blessings. So if we have not, if God is we believe or don't believe, that's different, but we believe our parents are our gods. And after parents, if it is anybody, it is our teachers. So with pranam to you, ma'am, to my dear friend Samir, I see Prashant Bhai also here, Dr. Prashant Karya, as well as all the other friends who have joined today on this evening. I want to say that, you know, there are many people who are very active when they are young and our age, and that some people continue to be young always, not in number of years, but in the amount of energy that they bring with the drive that they have to do something for the world. So the age in years, but the action also keeps increasing along with the age in years, because the desire to do something for the world never goes down. In fact, with age, that desire to do something for the world keeps increasing. And that example is Madam, our dear teacher, Dr. Swati Bhave, ma'am. Because jitna, every year I see her, she is more energetic and more younger than what I've seen her in my student days. And वो ऊपर वाले की नियामत है मैम आपको, क्योंकि आप इतना करना चाहती हैं लोगों के लिए. So I think that is a blessing to you, that you continue to shine and, you know, look and behave far younger to the rest of us also. So thank you so much for this opportunity. I have seen AACCI grow, and many people are content to just you know, slide into the limelight and into the golden sunset. You have been raging against everything and continuing to teach and help children and parents, and now as I see even grandparents with AACCI. So more power to you, to Samir and to AACCI. And I would like to Dr. Mr. Yashwant sir is also here. Namaskar, sahib. Namaskar. So my regards to all of you. And thank you for this opportunity to talk about behavioral issues and to bring in the role of grandparents. So
thanks for joining, Samir.
Thank you so much,
nice
sir.
To hear you. Long time no see.
So nice to see you, sir. So nice to see you. So with thanks to Madam for this opportunity and AACCI for this opportunity, I have a slight disclaimer. I am not going to talk about behavioral disorders like ADHD, autism spectrum disorders. I think they are all a little bit made up. I think what's very important is to see the situation in our daily lives and how daily lives are impacting the behavior of children around us, and how when they impact beyond a limit, they are causing disorders, rather than just looking at abnormalities or in like an evil gene in a child. Let's look at what's happening in the environment. And hence you have a 3-year-old boy now. Mom says that he can't still keep still. He's running around the house, wants to grab things, breaks them, throws them, flushes things down the toilet, scratches her when she says no. He needs mobiles or tablets to eat his food. A teacher says he disturbs the classroom. Yes, at 3 years old, this boy is already a veteran of the classroom, because nowadays children are almost born into the classroom. And everybody is stressed when he's around. So, Samir bhai, do you think this is a common situation? As a pediatrician, as a parent, do you see this all around you?
Absolutely, not in the classroom, in our clinic room also.
So when such a child comes to the clinic, oh doctor बोलता है यार वो last time award मिला था वो जरा संभाल के रख दो तोड़ देगा.
Right.
So when you take a history, you realize that I'm going to keep this open for non-medicals also. I hope more non-doctors have joined today than doctors. So when we look at this child, he had a little delayed speech development. Even when he was 1 year old, he was very fussy. Even at 8-9 months, he used to keep crying. So to keep, give him food and to make him eat, mommy needed to give him screens to calm him down. And she took a lot of effort to develop his speech. Nowadays, parents are so hardworking. They will keep repeating to the child 500 times till he says once. And then now the mother says that he needs constant attention and commands for everything and cannot be left alone without her. The last 2 sentences are connected, and we'll show you how a little later. Teachers say he's attention seeking. Now, if the child has got so much of attention from the time he's 2 to 3 years old, from the time he's 2 to 3 months old, then it's obvious that he's going to become attention seeking. So when the parents like this come into our clinic, the questions that they ask is, doctor, can I make my child more intelligent? And by that time, the child has gone and broken my award. How can I make him sit for studies? By that time, he has gone and hit my receptionist. How can I make him speak better? By that time, he has climbed on my lap. And this, he says his room is filled with toys, books, gadgets. Then she tells me he attends multiple classes all through the day. She is a super app mom, not just a super mom, super app mom. She has some 500 apps on her phone, and the child has seen 499 of those apps. Both parents work with multinationals, but they yet manage to find time for their child, which they use very judiciously to teach their 2.5, 3-year-old child about galaxies and black holes. And the child has hardly spent a few days with the grandparents because both the parents feel both their grand sets of grandparents are too old fashioned and are not really the right thing to do for their child. And that doesn't extend only to the grandparent, it also extends to doctors like Samir Shah and me, because now the mother is wondering if person like me and Samir Shah, we are already looking too old fashioned to be any good with this new generation. So I gave her a copy of this fantastic, wonderful book, which I'm sure Madam has read. And if all of you have not read this book, it is my dear, earnest request that please read this book. It is a book on the history of humankind called *Sapiens* by Yuval Noah Harari. Sapiens are, of course, Homo sapiens. It is very interesting to note in this book that we have evolved over the last 30,000 years, especially. And for 20,000 of the first 30,000 years, we were foraging around in groups and lived in communes. There were groups of 80 to 120 people who moved from one cave to the other, who dug for roots and ate potatoes and climbed trees and took down fruits and killed small animals around them. And they lived together as a community, moving from place to place. After the first 20,000 years, they developed speech, which therefore is a recent developmental acquisition. All parents keep saying, बच्चा बात नहीं करता, लेट बात करता, लेट बात करता. अरे इंसान ने बात लेट चालू की है, ये समझ लो. And writing as a form of communication began only 5,000 years ago. Doctor, my child is not writing. ये developmental pediatrician का clinic चलता है इस पे. बच्चा बात नहीं कर रहा है, बच्चा writing नहीं कर रहा है. Writing is only 5,000 years back. But all this change was gradual as humans evolved. The genes gradually evolved for better functioning, and the physical structure, that is a phenotype, followed after the genes changed. The body structure started changing. And that's the point that Madam brought in. Now, suddenly, children have stopped using their fingers because they're only using the mobiles. And now, suddenly, we are finding that this function is not being up to date, because the genes are still coded for using hands for these activities. They are not used for using hands for these kind of activities that are being used for or are necessary on the computer. So all these things are very important to note and understand. 10,000 years ago, there was this agricultural revolution in which man shifted from nomadic commune type living to living in localized habitats, and hence that began the entire concept of living in a structured manner in a small village. And this led to differentiation of roles within communities. Children and families started living in communities where everybody started getting different roles, and everybody had to live according to the role that they had to play in society. And hence, there was some role set up also to teaching these children, because you had to teach these children to do the job that was assigned to them in the community, and they had to do this job that is assigned to them in the community. And hence, school started so that these children could be taught exactly what was expected of them to be done later in life once they started becoming independent in the community. And structured schools, as we see them today with benches and desks, class teachers, curriculum, passing examinations, began only 200 years ago, became commonplace about 100 years ago, and pervasive everywhere only 25 years ago. And hence, education as we know it now is a very recent development in terms of human history. And more importantly, it was so rapid that it was almost an overnight development that schools and education have come up to play such a wide, important role in our lives. But it has happened very quickly, and genes have not had time to evolve for this. Moving ahead, we see that telephone and television is only the last 50 years. Telephone maybe a little more, but television is only last 50 years. And that's why they're almost like today. In a history of 40,000-50,000 years, 50 years is like today. And mobile phones, which are only last 10 years, are almost like instantaneous. Smartphones are therefore this moment, इसी घड़ी में मोबाइल फोन आए इंसान की दुनिया में, और इतने जल्दी ये सब हो रहा है, everything is so fast कि आप इसे पलक झपकते मिस कर दोगे. इसलिए फिलहाल recently in the last 20, 30, 40 years that children are being born, human beings have needed to adapt in the blink of an eye, but genes have not had time to evolve. How quickly technology has evolved. Technology is evolving by the minute. Genes take hundreds of years to evolve. And hence we must understand that though we are trying to get things to be done faster and faster, the body has not had time to change. The hands have not had time to change. The muscles of the hand have not had time to change. And hence we are bringing our children into a world for which their genes have not evolved. And hence we are bringing them into a world for which they haven't been born. But we are expecting them to bridge in one generation what would take human species thousands of years. Even then, human genes are so special and so fantastic that many children are yet able to adapt and to make the jump and to leap. But this is an important part of the discussion today, my friends. Many children who are normal otherwise are unable to adapt to this super fast pace. I am not talking about the pace of the first 2 months, what happens in the school. I am talking about the pace which has happened in the last one generation. And we have begun to then consider these children as abnormal, needing special effort and intervention to make them cope with something that is essentially not what they are evolved for. Hence, if we have to have normal children first have to spend a great deal of time with their parents, then with their grandparents and the family and the chacha, chachi, mama, maushi, atya, kaki, bua, tauji, taaji, etc., which help them understand how to deal in this world. After that, they have to deal with the neighborhood. In India, we are blessed. In Mumbai, we have one neighborhood, one family is from Tamil Nadu, one family is Gujarati, one family is Bengali, one family is Marathi. The children are getting to or got to learn so much in society, and finally they reach school. But today, what is happening to normal children is the children are born normal with normal genes. There is no family, no grandparents, no neighborhood, no society, direct school. And that's why they are unable to cope. What happens is parents get worried. Oh my God, my child is abnormal. He is not doing well. There is a problem. I need to go to a developmental center, or I need to start with special classes, tuitions, referrals to developmental pediatrician, to neurologist, to this therapist, this psychologist, that psychologist. Evaluations follow one after the other. Oh, your child has autism. Your child is ADHD, LD, learning disability. All labeling happens. And then therapy start. There is run to Sion Hospital to get provisions and concessions. Then you start special education. Then there is a new concept in schools today in education called shadow teachers. Then there are special schools. And finally, after all this, we end up with so-called abnormal children. And to compensate for this lack of adaptation, parents are tasked with helping their child adapt quickly. And that's why teaching has now become the new human industry, which is now a ceaseless command throwing repetitive activity hand in hand with testing. आपका बच्चा कुछ नहीं कर रहा है मिसेस सचदेव, ये बच्चा ऐसा नहीं करेगा तो उसको क्लास से निकालना पड़ेगा. आप उसको सिखाइए, सिखा के लाइए, उसको ये सब होमवर्क आना चाहिए. Child goes home, mommy sits with the child, comes home from office at 9 o'clock, 9:15 she starts. A for apple, B for bad, APPLE. अरे P लिखा है तूने, P के बजाय B लिखा, B के बजाय D लिखा, क्या कर रहे हो? This goes on till 11:30, 12:30 at night. And this begins at an age which is far earlier than the biological age of maturation. And hence, Ronald Illingworth, madam, you would like, I'm sure you'll remember, he told us that practice cannot preempt maturation. Body mature होने के पहले आप practice से उससे वो काम नहीं करा सकते जो समय से ही maturation से आएगा. And this inundates the normal child's maturing system with too much information too early, too much being crammed into the child. This is not stimulation, ma'am. This is hyper stimulation. And what is being stimulated is the anxiety to perform. You're stimulating anxiety, and the poor child reacts similarly by showing equal anxiety, by getting hyper agitated, by getting hyperactive, or by withdrawing away, keeping quiet, getting depressed. And ma'am, this is what I'm proposing we call the overstimulation syndrome that we have described at New Horizons Child Development Center. 10 साल पहले it was common that children were not being stimulated, they were being left alone. So this whole thing of stimulation, early stimulation has started. And today we have the opposite effect. There is overstimulation. And to top it all, There is no time because parents are working, students themselves are busy all day with tuitions. Half an hour of morning chores is all that they get. Wake up at 7 o'clock, 7:30 the bus is going to come. Half an hour में brush भी करने का है, मुंह भी धोने का है, टॉयलेट भी करने का है, नहाने का भी है, खाने का भी है, कपड़ा भी पहनने का है. कैसे होगा ये सब? और रात को like I said, late evening studies, dinner, sleep late, sleep less, and all across wherever you go, full day there is screen time that is part of it. And this leads to the overstimulation syndrome, which is leading to behavioral disorders. And as we know, electronic media and gadgets have become a part of our daily life, and it is getting increasingly common even in smaller children. As you can see, this was our old हमारे सुनहरे दिन. समीर भाई ने बोला कल आज और कल. अब ये कल देखो कैसे अच्छे black and white days थे, और अभी ये देखिए. I've enrolled you in an online summer camp, so you can learn about the great outdoors. I was trying to teach him to say Dada. Bacha is saying Dada nahi, data. So exposure to electronic media and gadgets, people think it is very beneficial. It is not beneficial, it is very harmful. And now children are seeing mobiles and TVs for 7 to 8 hours of the day. Now with education becoming online after COVID, it is only expected to get worse. And all this cramming is putting the grandparents and the family far, far away. You see this now, poor child sitting with a pencil, लिखने के लिए paper है नहीं, वो screen पे ही देखना है. And language development, as madam said, language development happens when the child constantly interacts with a parent or a grandparent or a masi or a chachi or a chacha, but that is not available. What is left is only the screen, and hence there is a screen problem with the screen. So what do we do about gadget addiction? Everybody talks about ye karo, wo karo, screen band karo, screen mat dikhao. Please understand, the problem is not gadget addiction. The problem is the way we are looking at childhood. And that's why I took you through this long journey. कल मतलब बहुत पहले का कल मैंने बताया, क्योंकि इंसान इस तरह से इवॉल्व हुए हैं. We have evolved in this way. हमारे जीन्स इस तरह से हैं. हम उनके साथ खिलवाड़ नहीं कर सकते. We can't expect them to do abnormal things. So it is overall the way that we have made childhood today. One of the symptoms of this abnormal childhood that we have made, abnormal society that we are making, one of the symptoms is gadget addiction. Don't target the gadget, target the way we look at our child's life. Look at this as we are overstimulating the child. So look at it as a part of child's overall environment. Change the environment to regulate the impact on the child. This is a book that I have just showed. Samir bhai mentioned it some time back. This has a wonderful chapter on how to help your child get rid of electronic media and gadgets, and all of you can read that. So I won't talk about it, but I'll tell you what we do at New Horizons Child Development Center. The larger part of our work is coaching the parents, and hence we want to work with parents and the grandparents. We have to explain to them that one object can't replace another object, which is a mobile. So mobile can't be replaced by television. Television can't be replaced by YouTube. Only humans can replace the objects. And parents and grandparents need to slow down the pace, and that is where grandparents come in. Because parents at their age will always be in a perpetual rush. The mother, poor thing in India, worst situation is the mother. She has to be a good mother, a good wife, a good daughter-in-law, a good daughter, a good sister, a good person working in the office, a good neighboring lady. She has to be a good auntie. अरे कितना काम करेगी? And she cannot help it because poor thing, she is expected to do everything. That's where the grandparents come in, because they are generally calm, they have a little more time, they are wiser, they have seen the world, and hence do not be performance based कि मेरा बच्चा कौन से classes में जा रहा है. ये देखिए आपका बच्चा कितना काम है. How much time is he getting to observe, to gradually absorb, and to assimilate and build it into his own self. And that is where the cool, calm, and the patient hand of the grandparents is very important. But more than that, I'm going to say, use the neighborhood. And I have become a very, very strong votary of the fact that the neighborhood is the most important place for the child to develop normal child development and normal behavior. And hence, all these are myths. Doctor, what is the best app for my child? I have downloaded 500 apps. All there are 80,000 apps labeled as educational, but no actual improvement has been shown by research. And caregivers whose children are as young as 3 to 6 months of age were shown apps and nursery rhymes. Today, बच्चा खाता नहीं है, 6 महीने का बच्चा तो उसको टैबलेट पे रख देते हैं. टैबलेट मतलब खाने का नहीं, दिखाने का. With a belief that this would improve their intelligence. So many apps, so much marketing. ये ऐप डाउनलोड करो, आपका बच्चा आइंस्टाइन बन जाएगा. सब बकवास है, इसमें कोई प्रूफ नहीं है. So what do we do at New Horizons? We actually spend time counseling parents about the need to increase social interaction with their child, and that their lab is the best app for infants and toddlers. Infants and toddlers learn best through two-way communication, not one way. And ma'am, you would remember that you had invited me to speak in Pune, and I had spoken about autism in our new theory. I'm very happy to share with you that we have sent it for publication to a foreign journal, and it's going to get published finally. And that is the theory of human interaction. Absence of that is what leads to autism. I'm sure that doesn't happen in all children, but some lack of interaction is definitely impacting each and every child. And the reason for that is there are no grandparents around. Parents are obviously busy working in offices. So the child needs the grandparents around. And they learn more by this face to face, back and forth conversation, hugging, kissing, playing, rather than sitting passively in front of a screen. And that is why a large number of children who come to our center with even autism, whose parents had said there's a large amount of screen time, by talking to them and explaining to them and bringing in the chacha, chachi, mama, masi, and the grandparents, we have been actually able to eliminate screen time in all the children. And there are about 550 children with us on the program at New Horizons now. All of them we have been able to eliminate their screen. So we have started a campaign a couple of years back called hashtag limit my screen time. All of you can just Google it, and there are these kind of screens. Madam has done so much of work on screen time awareness for parents, but you can just download these posters from the net. You just Google hashtag limit my screen time. We have made these kind of posters. Just Google them, just print them down. If you are a teacher, use it in your school. If you are a parent, put it in your house. And hence, I like to close by finally saying that for ensuring a better future, you have to counsel parents to invest time with their child, limit their own screen time, communicate more, have more family time, find their neighborhood. And I'm going to show this finally. I shared this with Madam and Samir by 2 days back. This is an article written by me which has appeared in the Outlook magazine just 2 days back. So it's available on the stands. But on the right side, I've actually put up the link. If you can just take a picture, you can probably see it later. And it's a free article. You can just download it, or you can ask me. Maybe in the chat box, I'll send you the link for this. Please download it. And what I've said is, absent social structures, it takes a neighborhood to raise a citizen. And the absence of neighborhood and this unfortunate jump from cradle to classroom is actually creating a lot of problems. So we all know how happy we were in the life without gadgets. And today we know that the same solution cannot work all across the country. But what is common across the country and will work across the country is that a grandparent can make it happen. And hence, I would again like to reiterate the importance of a larger family, society, and community, and most important, the neighborhood, of which the grandparents are a very essential part. Thank you, ma'am, very much once again. Thank you, Samir bhai, for giving me an opportunity with AACCI. And I'm very happy to have shared a little bit of my experience with you. And if any questions, I'll be happy to take them.
Before we take a question, let Madam can speak now regarding your speech.
Yes, the first thing, what is the greatest pleasure and happiness for a teacher is when the Shishya becomes Guru Se Savai. And today, Samir, I have that happiness and pride that I heard a wonderful lecture from you. I've been hearing this for the last many years from you, but you have consolidated in a nutshell, and it was superb. And I'm sure that all the participants and the people will have really benefited. And we are going to put this on our AACCI website, YouTube channel. So those who missed this wonderful lecture will still see it. And and talking about the screen time, Samir, if you see, American Academy of Pediatrics has brought out guidelines for screen time. And they have clearly said that no screen time below the age of 2 years. But they have made one exception, that if the children want to connect with their grandparents across the continent, then an interactive session on the screen with the grandparents will develop communication skills, speech, and other patterns. So even the American Academy of Pediatrics gave an exception for screen time for interaction with the grandparents and other relatives. So it is so true that we have to use that screen time very judiciously and for interaction rather than passive listening or hearing various things. So Samir, I have a request for you, Samir Shah, that he's done such a good job that today I want to take a back seat and let him answer most of the questions. But I'm sure the audience will enjoy that more. Thank you.
No, ma'am, you have to answer.
So it's a really a great to see two experts are talking in between the guru and Shishya, and I am the in between person. So it's a really a great pleasure for all of us to talking with you. At least I having a chance to talk you in person, and other people are really listening a great talk with you too. And I am the in between the mediator that at least I can having some queries that will be clarified by you two expert. That's a one of the thing what we expect. And it's a really great thing what you had said, and absolutely right. And I will totally convince that human can replace the device, and it's not true for a vice versa. Absolutely not possible. And actually, I have to take a one presentation of the for the teachers tomorrow about the safe media use. And your presentation will help a lot to me to convince them also to how to they can utilize that skill in tomorrow's session for me also. So
Very
that
nice.
would be definitely really a great thing. Second important thing, what you had said, that is the limitation of the time limitation and the excessive use of the devices by the parent itself having led to the overutilization syndrome, the what you had taught. So what are the other factors that are really lacking in parenting other than that time limit and overutilization? That will be the more lead to the such type of the problem in behavioral issue at recent era. So can you guide us that?
Ma'am?
Unmute, ma'am.
Samir, I really want you to answer.
Okay,
I'll
okay.
only answer in the end.
Thanks. So, Samir bhai, what I am a big believer of normal life and practical life and simplicity rather than theory. I think the most important problem today is parents feel that they have very little time in their child's life and there is too much of competition. And if the child lags behind even 2-3 months, मतलब उसकी जिंदगी बर्बाद हो जाएगी. They have that much of fear because they have so much of fear of competition in the world, because as adults we see so much of competition around ourselves. I think this is what is pushing everybody to be so desperate that your child has to perform. And this desperation is coming across in the child, in the anxiety of the child. तो जरा भी बच्चे में अगर कुछ कमी है, कमी भी नहीं मैं कह रहा हूँ, अलग है, या कभी बच्चे का ध्यान नहीं है, it is immediately picked up by the society. And the big problem is today the child is in the gaze of the school from very early age, even 2.5 years. Now the school's job obviously is to observe, to have a curriculum, and it's all about performance. So the child को हम एक परफॉर्मर की निगाह से देख रहे हैं, उसको इव्हॅल्युएट कर रहे हैं. त्याला अगदी लहानपणापासून आपण त्याला एका मॅग्निफाइंग ग्लासच्या खाली ठेवतोय. त्याची जरा जरी चूक झाली, लिटिल बिट स्टेप्स आउट ऑफ लाइन, थोड़ा भी यहाँ का वहां हो गया, तो हम स्कूल इमीडिएटली पिकअप करता है, पेरेंट्स को बुला के बोल देते हैं. वो पेरेंट बेचारा हाइपर हो जाता है, स्ट्रेस में आ जाता है, और फिर इस चक्कर के पीछे लगता है कि बच्चों को बिठाओ, बच्चों को पढ़ाओ, बच्चे से और कराओ. अब इसमें ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स का इशू ये है कि पहले था कि घर में चाचा थे, मामा थे, तायाजी थे, आजोबा होते, नानाजी होते, कोणाला तरी आपण विचारायचो, किसी ना किसी को हम पूछते थे. अब वो मिसिंग है, और इसलिए टोटल जो सोशल स्ट्रक्चर जो बन रहा है वो बहुत ही घातक है. और अभी तो ये कुछ भी नहीं है. आज जो बच्चे 3 या 4 साल के हैं, जो टोटली इस एटमॉस्फेयर में अभी हैं, आप 10 साल के बाद मुझे वरी होती है कि ये जब 12, 13, 14 साल के यंग सिटीजन होंगे, तब इनका माइंड किस तरह से डेवलप हुआ होगा. They have not had an opportunity to develop as a normal human being, because the normal human being develops in the neighborhood, not just with the parents. With the parent, with my mother, Swati ma'am, suppose my mother, I will learn to be like Swati ma'am at best. I will learn to think like her, I will learn to speak like her, I will learn to analyze like her. Okay, best. But that's not all. There are 1.3 billion people more in India. I have to deal with all of them. If I only have one model, Swati ma'am, in my mother in front of me, everybody else is abnormal. Then I am not able to adjust to anybody else. So I have to have one Maushi also, matlab one Mausi also, one Chachi also, one Kaka also, one Mami also. I am learning from all of them. Now all of them are becoming my role models, but in a pleasant atmosphere. My mommy doesn't call up my mother and say, come tomorrow to my house, your child is not saying A to Z correctly. She will not do all this. She is not judging the child all the time. School has to judge.
मामी, चाची, मौसी, अरे कुछ नहीं करने दो. So the child gradually learns from everybody, and this is not just my observation. It is a theory by Lev Vygotsky. Lev Vygotsky was a Russian-Ukrainian psychologist. He has given a theory of the zone of proximal development. कि बच्चा उसके इमीडिएट सराउंडिंग में जो अतराफ में है उसे पकड़ पकड़ के चलता है. जैसे बेल जो होती है, जो बेल फूलों की बेला जो होती है फूल की, वो एक सपोर्ट को पकड़ के ऊपर 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 चढ़ती है. बिल्कुल उसी तरह से इंसान का बच्चा, इंसान अपने सराउंडिंग में जो लोग हैं उनसे किसी से ये सीखता है, किसी से वो सीखता है, थोड़ा आगे जाता है. तो माँ से जल्दी सीखता है. मासी थोड़ी अलग है, माँ से थोड़ी सी अलग है मासी, तो थोड़ा अलग सीखता है. मासी के बाद और कोई दूर की मासी है, फिर मम्मी की फ्रेंड है. ये सब लोग मम्मी से अलग 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 बिहेवियर है. आहिस्ता 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 अलगपन या डाइवर्सिटी आहिस्ते आहिस्ते पिकअप करता है. और ये डाइवर्सिटी सीखने में बच्चे के ब्रेन का डेवलपमेंट होता है. मैं एक ही चीज सीखूंगा, सिर्फ मैं स्वाति भावे जी मेरी माँ है, आई एम फॉर्चुनेट, मैं लेकिन एक ही सीखा तो मेरा ब्रेन डेवलप नहीं होगा. मैंने स्वाति भावे मैम के साथ मेरी और 4 मासियां भी थी, तो मैं ज्यादा सीखूंगा. मेरे ठीक जैसे जिम में आप जाओगे, सिर्फ डंबल से बाइसेप्स एक्सरसाइज करोगे, सिर्फ बाइसेप्स स्ट्रांग होंगे. आपको तो एब्स भी करना है, आपको तो थाइस भी करना है, काफ्स भी करना है. ये इंपॉर्टेंट है. तो डाइवर्सिटी बच्चों को मिले, ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है. वो अब नहीं मिल रही. इसीलिए बच्चों का बिहेवियर हाइपर, एंशियस, इरिटेबल, अटेंशन सीकिंग, जरा भी ना बोल दिया तो बस कहर मच गया. सुसाइड्स क्यों बढ़ रहे हैं? क्योंकि ना सुनने की आदत ही नहीं है बच्चों को. कोई चाची मासी ने एक मतलब ऐसा देना चाहिए, ऐसा मैं नहीं बोल रहा हूँ, मगर वो थोड़ा कान तो पकड़ना चाहिए. वो हुआ ही नहीं कभी. बच्चे को मदर ने, फादर ने किसी चीज के लिए ना बोला ही नहीं. स्कूल में गया, एक दिन टीचर ने डांट दिया, व्हाट आर यू डूइंग रमेश, सिट क्वाइटली. दूसरे दिन से रमेश बोलता है मैं स्कूल जाऊंगा ही नहीं. तू कौन है, मुझे चिल्ला रही है, कौन हो तुम? मेरे को तो मेरे फादर मदर ने 4 साल में कभी नहीं कुछ डांटा, आप कौन है? फी दे रहे ना हम आपको. ये एटीट्यूड बन रहा है, सिर्फ स्कूल के टीचर के साथ नहीं, सबके साथ समाज में. और ये मेजर वरी है. तो सिर्फ स्क्रीन को टारगेट करना मतलब टीबी में आप सिर्फ खांसी की दवाई दे रहे हो. टीबी बहुत बड़ी बीमारी है, खांसी उसका एक भाग है. सिर्फ खांसी का सिरप मत दो, पूरे टीबी को ठीक करो. ये जरूरी बात है.
Means importance is a family value, that is a very important. Surrounding the people is very important. जब अभी हम लोग बात कर रहे हैं ग्लोबल विलेज, वहां पे एक्चुअली जी विलेज की बात ग्लोबलाइजेशन में आ रही है, लेकिन जो अपने आजू बाजू के लोगों को हम सोचते हैं वो हम नहीं कर पा रहे. That is the main concern what we have to take care of, and ultimately the strain and the anxiety of the parents is coming to the towards to the children, and ultimately children is a sufferer, but the actual जो problem है वो parents की तरफ से है. वो आप generally you had that focus very well. Madam, you having a more any comments? Unmute, ma'am.
As I said, Samir, I will comment at the end after the question answer session with Samir Dalwai is over. So
Okay,
I want him to get the main stage today.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Samir bhai,
Hi,
one
Prashant.
question. Yeah.
Just a
Hi,
minute.
good evening. Nice.
Prashant,
nice
just
to-
before you ask the question, can we having a one important question related with our grandparenting, because it's a main our focus of this our week celebration is grandparent, and you already Samir has already clarified few things where the grandparents involved. But can you give some guidance of that thing, how grandparents involve more without the conflict in the parenting?
The biggest problem I see is a misunderstanding between parents and grandparents very often. And this is a transgenerational thing. वो सास भी कभी बहू थी वाला हिसाब है. Because very often the grandmother who is at the older generation is not able to see eye to eye with the daughter-in-law who is of a middle generation. And then the child who's of the youngest generation gets caught in the two. Very often the child starts playing very smartly and manipulating the two, because he knows मम्मी ने डांटा तो दादी के पास जाओ, दादी तो दे ही देगी. दादी ने डांटा तो माँ के पास जाओ, माँ दे देगी. माँ को ये समझना जरूरी है कि मेरी सास कितनी भी बुरी हो, मैं कह रहा हूँ, फिर भी मुझे उसकी जरूरत है मेरे बेटे के लिए. क्योंकि मैं जो बच्चे को सिखाऊंगी वो अलग है, जो दादी के साथ रह के सीखेगा वो अलग है. और दादी के साथ जो समय ज्यादा है दादी के पास, द ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स हैव मोर टाइम. So ideally, if they spend more time with the child, then we don't need to send the child to a daycare or to a creche. Because in the creche, the first thing that will happen, they'll put on the TV or they'll just give the child some toys. And then the child is just on its own being auto-stimulated, not correctly stimulated. But this is the age, first 2 to 3 years, that the child has to learn the atmosphere and the environment in the house and navigate and negotiate the conundrum in the house. Once he learns how to handle himself in a house, then, like I said, one step away, cousins, then one step away, neighbors, then one step away, all society, and then one step away, school. So there needs to have face-to-face discussion. We do that. Very often parents say, "Sir, डॉक्टर साहब आप सब भाई बराबर बोल रहे हैं, हम करते भी है, वो इसकी दादी मानती नहीं है." We say, please call her, let us talk to her. We respect her. If you respect her, she will listen to you. एंड एट द एंड ऑफ द डे, क्या आपकी जो मतलब मदर इन लॉ है, क्या वो बच्चे को नहीं चाहती? ऑफ कोर्स चाहती है. उनका तरीका सोचने का अलग है, पुराना हो सकता है. हमें उनसे बात करनी चाहिए, हमें उनको एक्सप्लेन करना चाहिए. अब मेरा एडवांटेज ये है कि मैं जब उनसे दादी से बात करूं तो दहेज का इश्यू तो बीच में नहीं है ना, तो मेरे लिए तो आसान है बात करना, क्योंकि उसमें शायद और कोई बहुत सी चीजें होती है जिसमें वो कलर होता है कॉन्वर्सेशन, बहुत सी पुरानी बातें आती रहती है, बैगेज होता है. डॉक्टर बात करेगा, साइकोलॉजिस्ट बात करेगा, थेरेपिस्ट बात करेगा, तो डायरेक्ट बात, स्कूल टीचर बात करेगी पेरेंट ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स से, तो ग्रैंड पेरेंट आके वही देखिए मैं आपको डॉक्टर साहब मैं इनको यही बोल रही थी, शी विल एग्री विद व्हाट यू आर सेइंग. हाँ बस मैं भी यही बोल रहा हूँ, वो भी वही बोल रहे हैं, अभी सब मिलके वही करो जो हम बोल रहे हैं. Then it is very important to make them sit down and make a schedule for the child. So when it becomes, you make a schedule, you put it up on the wall. Now everybody is following the schedule. Na mama ki baat, na dada ki baat, na dadi ki baat, na papa ki baat. Schedule लिख के हो गया. So all of them have an agreement कि बच्चे के साथ हमको सुबह ये करना है. Very often the mother may go for work before the child wakes up. दादी का काम है first half बच्चे को हैंडल करना. अगर हम ऑर्गेनाइज करेंगे तो ठीक से होता है. Mom comes in the afternoon, then she can handle the child, then the दादी can take some rest. तो ये सब जो है जरूरी है. दो प्रॉब्लम इसमें आते हैं. Sometimes the grandparents themselves are too old, they are cranky, they are not well, and then they are truly not able to take care of the child. The second thing is sometimes the grandparents are also hooked on to all those religious serials going on TV, or the Saas Bahu series going on TV. Oh, they are also so involved because they also feel that is the only source of entertainment for them. तो ये सब प्रॉब्लम होते हैं, but we have to navigate it very nicely, openly, transparency. And again, I end by saying, telling parents, whatever may be the problem with the mother-in-law, if she is there and you get her on the side, it's a benefit for your child.
Absolutely correct. Before I ask any question, Prasad,
I mean, Samir bhai, last question from my side. ऑडियंस जो पूछना चाहती है, कई बार हम देखते हैं कि बच्चे को डिसिप्लिन करने में जो पेरेंट की मेथड होती है और ग्रैंड पेरेंट की मेथड, दोनों में बहुत डिफरेंस होता है और फिर कन्फ्लिक्ट होते हैं. हाउ टू डील विद दैट, बिकॉज सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम यहीं पे आ रहा है.
The real way to discipline a child is to first be disciplined ourselves कि what do we want the child to do. इसलिए मैंने कहा पहले शेड्यूल बनाओ, लिख के रखो कि बच्चे को उठना कब है, ब्रश कब करना है, मुंह कब धोना है, टॉयलेट कैसे जाना है, नहाना कब है. ये चीजों में कंफ्यूजन होता है. कोई कहता है अरे अभी के अभी नहाना चाहिए, तो कभी दादी कहती है अरे नहीं नहाएगा क्या फर्क पड़ता है. ठीक है, फर्क नहीं पड़ता, मगर कंफ्यूजन में फर्क पड़ता है. बच्चा कंफ्यूज हो जाता है, अरे अब नहाना या नहीं नहाना है. तो पेरेंट्स को और ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स को साथ में बैठ के ये डिसाइड करना है कि भैया बच्चे का दिन भर का शेड्यूल क्या हो. ये करने से 50% झगड़े कम हो जाते हैं. और फिर वो जो शेड्यूल बना है उसके मुताबिक जो भी उस वक्त अवेलेबल है उसमें वो करना है. क्या बच्चे को आज मम्मी नहीं है तो दादी ले गई, उसको ब्रश कराया, मुंह धुलाया, टॉयलेट ले गई, निलाया, कपड़े पहनाया, नाश्ता करने बैठाया. जिस दिन मम्मी है दादी नहीं है, मम्मी ने भी वो सेम सीक्वेंस किया. अब ये बच्चे के लिए बेनिफिशियल है, क्योंकि बच्चे को एक हैबिट है, जिसके घर में आप एक चीज ही ट्रेन करोगे बच्चा वो पिकअप करेगा. प्रॉब्लम होता है जब कंफ्यूजन में. तो द वे टू डील एंड टू रिमूव प्रॉब्लम्स बिटवीन द पेरेंट्स एंड ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स, सिट डाउन एंड हैव अ डिस्कशन कि बच्चे का शेड्यूल कैसे हमको ऑर्गेनाइज करना है. हाँ, शाम को 1 घंटा दादाजी बच्चे को वॉक के लिए लेके जाएंगे, फिर वो दादाजी करेंगे और कोई नहीं करेगा. और वो 5 to 6 अगर टाइम है तो बच्चा दादाजी के साथ पार्क जा रहा है. हाँ, लेकिन उस दिन अगर दादाजी कहीं चले गए या दादाजी फर्ज करिए बीमार हो, किसी और को बच्चे को लेके मगर जाना है, तो ये चीजें हम घर में प्लानिंग कर सकते हैं, करते भी हैं। कोई बीमार हो तो हम लोग सब ये सब ड्यूटीज करते हैं, घर में शादी हो तो हम ये सब करते हैं। बच्चे के साथ रोज करना चाहिए। और ये जो शेड्यूल बना है, इससे मैंने देखा है फिर झगड़े कम होते हैं, बच्चा डिसिप्लिन होता है, ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स समझने लगते हैं। देखिए एक तरीके से हम हैंडल कर रहे हैं तो बच्चा डेफिनेटली इंप्रूवमेंट दिखा रहा है। वो क्लियरली होना चाहिए दोनों के बीच में कि देखिए अगर ये इसका नहाने का समय है, अगर आप बीच में बोलेंगे कि मत नहाओ, मुझे कुछ प्रॉब्लम नहीं, लेकिन बच्चा कंफ्यूज हो जाएगा, फिर वो मैनिपुलेट करने लगेगा। जब उसे नहीं नहाना है, दादी के पास चला जाएगा, फिर ये गेम्स बढ़ते हैं। और ये एक्सप्लेन करना चाहिए। और ये एक्सप्लेन करने से जब वो फायदा देखते हैं तो इस चीज को जनरली मानते हैं। कभी कभी नहीं भी होता है, ये नहीं भी होता है, तो अभी वी हैव टू टेल पेरेंट्स कि ठीक है, जितना हो रहा है उतना फॉलो करिए। By and large, most children are normal. Like I said, only habits are being formed wrongly. हाँ, जहाँ पे सीवियर प्रॉब्लम है, जैसे सीवियर ऑटिज्म है, जब ये करना बहुत जरूरी है, तब लाइक आई सेड वी आर ऑल्सो इन्वॉल्व, वी कॉल द ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स, हम हाथ जोड़ते हैं, हम समझाते हैं कि ये करने से देखिए बच्चा अच्छा होगा। ये देखिए बाहर 3 बच्चे बैठे हैं, उनके मम्मी डैडी ने ये किया, उनके दादा दादी ने किया, उनके दादा दादी से आप बात करिए, तो ये सब इन्फ्लुएंस करके वो मान जाते हैं।
तो इट्स
ये भी मैंने देखा है कि वेरी रेयरली पेरेंट्स हैव सेड कि नहीं होगा यहाँ पे, दे आर नॉट गोइंग टू अंडरस्टैंड, या दे आर अनवेल, उनके हेल्थ से नहीं होता है, दे हैव हैड टू समटाइम्स मूव आल्सो, दैट इज अ सैड पार्ट। मगर फिर भी हम कहते हैं कि अगर ऐसा भी है, आप दूर मत जाइए, कम से कम दिन में 1-2 बार पेरेंट्स को, बच्चे को ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स से मिलने दीजिए। आप ऑफिस में जा रहे हैं, बच्चा स्कूल से आएगा, ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स क्या रुकने दीजिए, आप ऑफिस से आएंगे, बच्चे को पिकअप करके घर ले जाइए, ये होता भी है। तो ये मिलजुल के करना जो है वो बहुत अच्छा होता है।
Yes, so it's a co-parenting. What you are saying, it's a really a great thing. And ये जो मिलजुल के जो काम करते हैं, तभी जो बच्चे को जो रियली हमको सिखाना है वो हम प्रॉपरली सिखा पाते हैं. So that's a really a great thing. And I remember your that theory of the autism, what we had discussed a lot at Surat only, around 1.5 hours. Manusya Magnata, you remember that? It's a really a great theory, and we all convince majority of our own team when we are sit together and discussing that things. It's a really a good theory, and we all are really enthusiastically looking for the what are the excellent results you are getting from the your own passion.
Sure, sure.
It's a really great thing. Regarding the come to the grandparents, there are the different grandparenting issue nowadays because of the modern era, because of the previously that is what you are saying is a low education. Now it's a coming is the era of a high education catered grandparenting. So what you say about that? What is the pattern that whether it will be the how we can avoid that conflict in that high educated parents and grandparents?
Actually, that might be a little easier because they will have an independent thinking. They will resource or they will refer to things. They will themselves Google up. So there it's easier that you can give them some resources to read. Look, I'm saying based on this. You also read about this. You connect with other parents. The problem is with ego sometimes between the two generations. So very often calling them in the clinic, दोनों को बिठा के चाय पिला के, या call them separately. You explain your point of view to them. With educated parents, the advantage is we can use a lot of resources, reading material, some other material, books, resources. So that's easier with educated people. The problem is sometimes a grandparent also may be very busy. They may be working, they may be doing business, or they may be occupied elsewhere. But then overall, they are able to manage together.
Before I hand over the mic to the Swati madam, one quick comment about the distance grandparenting, because nowadays it's a very difficult task. Many times grandparents not able to stay with their parents because of the continuous mobility of the services of the parents, but they really want to take the care of the children. So how they can take that?
वो कहते हैं ना, जो किसी और को नहीं बता सकते वो नानी को बता सकते हैं, या दादा को बता सकते हैं, या दादी जी को बता सकते हैं. तो वो एक आउटलेट होना जरूरी है. And Madam Dr. Swati ma'am said very clearly, even the American Academy of Pediatrics said no screens below 2 years, but actual interaction with the grandparents should be allowed. So वो एक सेफ्टी वाल होना चाहिए कि और कुछ नहीं तो ग्रैंडपेरेंट के साथ जुड़ा हुआ है, कनेक्टेड है. बहुत बार ये एडिक्शन के इश्यूज जब होते हैं, चाइल्ड स्टार्ट स्मोकिंग या कुछ, पता है ये गलत है, मगर ये वो पेरेंट्स के साथ कन्फाइड नहीं करता है, बट ही टेल्स द ग्रैंड पेरेंट. वो नानी को बताएगा कि नानी ऐसे ऐसे है. वो एक सेफ्टी वाल होना भी जरूरी है। और इसलिए कभी कभी जब सिचुएशन बहुत ज्यादा एक्सप्लोसिव होती है, जैसे बच्चे ने सच में कुछ किया है जो हम बहुत वरीड है और बहुत एजिटेटेड है, तब एक ग्रैंड पेरेंट को थोड़ा सा ओके ठीक है, विल हैंडल इट, वो एक शांति का मार्ग दिखाने वाला भी एक बार ग्रैंड पेरेंट की जरूरत होती है। तो वो बैलेंस करने से फिर बच्चा कुछ तो सेफ्टी वाल होता है कि मम्मी तो बहुत नाराज है आज, लेकिन मैं थोड़ा नानी से बात करूंगा तो नानी समझ लेगी। तो दिस distant grandparent is very important. But what I will tell parents is, whichever opportunity you get, you send a child there. You send a child. उसको 2 दिन, 4 दिन, 5 दिन, आप बिलीव नहीं करेंगे, मेरी एक कलीग है, अभी हमसे हमारे यहाँ ज्वाइन किया उसने, नेम इज, मैं नाम नहीं बताता हूँ, डेवलपमेंट पीडियाट्रिशियन है, उसका 15 मंथ का बेबी है। तो मुझे बोली ये सब मैं देख देख के मैंने मेरे 15 मंथ ओल्ड बेबी को मम्मी के साथ और मेरे बहन के साथ अहमदाबाद भेज दिया। दैट चाइल्ड स्टेड 15 month old child, and she said stayed happily 3-4 days, कुछ मेरे लिए रोई नहीं, आई मेरे साथ भी खुश है। So she is saying I never would have imagined कि 15 month old child को मैं मेरे ग्रैंडमदर के साथ अहमदाबाद बॉम्बे से भेजूं 3 दिन के लिए, 3 दिन के बाद आ गई और वो रह सकती है। तो ये हमको बच्चों को रियलाइज हमें करना चाहिए कि ह्यूमन चिल्ड्रन आर geared to live in community with people, with parents, grandparents, चाचा चाची, मौसी, मामा, we are geared for that. We are not geared to directly go from the house to the classroom. We are not geared to directly deal with the teacher and peers. We have to go step by step. This is missing.
Right. So connected रहिए, that is the main important thing, and साथ में रहिए, that is the second important thing. So one more question is coming, but I think madam can take more better than you, because it's a how deal are the ego between the parents and grandparents of the high intellectual. Madam can take that thing.
Thank you, both the Samirs. So I do a lot of family counseling where I not only deal with the parents, but I ask them to get the grandparents. And I'll be happy to inform you that throughout COVID in 3 years, I did so much teleconsultations, and the grandparents willingly came for teleconsultations. So I used to take one session separately with the parents, one session separately with the grandparents. And then as Samir said, I didn't give chai on a teleconsultation, but I brought all 4 of them together and I brought them on the same page. And this really helped in the positive discipline and the structured schedule, which Samir is talking about. And I always tell the parents that don't let the bad relationship of you with your parents or your in-laws deprive your child of the grandparent love and interaction. Compartmentalize. You may not like your mother-in-law, but she is the best grandmother for your children. And then I tell them jokingly कि जब तुम कोई maid रखते हो, nanny रखते हो, उसको इतना पैसा देते हो और उसके सब नखरे संभालते हो. Because often we say कि you can fight with your husband, but you can't fight with your maid because वो तो छोड़ के चली जाएगी. Husband बेचारा साथ में ही रहेगा. So if you can tolerate the maids and the nannies, mother-in-law तो इतनी बुरी नहीं है. If you can just tolerate your mother-in-law and try to cope up with her, the immense benefit your child will get of your mother-in-law being a wonderful grandmother is something which you have to learn. So you may not like your mother-in-law, but for your children's sake, learn to get on with the mother-in-law and your child will benefit. Because if a child, as Samir says, sees the conflict between grandparents and parents, which is disastrous. And I've had many, many children telling me that I hate my parents the way they talk to my grandparents, or I hate my dadi because the way she talks to my mother, she's so insulting. So the children are getting very badly affected by the conflict between grandparents and parents. And ये सब जो होता है, it's 2 generations, the gap होने वाला है. But you learn to sit across each other when the children are not around. When the grandchildren are not around, sit in your hall, एक दूसरे को कोसो, गाली दो, कुछ भी करो, but come on the same page. So when you are dealing with the grandchild, they know that grandparents and grandmothers are a team, and whatever they decide is common, and we have the same structure. And this is not only important for normal child, as Samir said, but especially with ADHD or autistic child, the grandparents, I make them understand that the strict scheduling and the strict structuring and the positive discipline is a way to help them get better. So spoiling such grandchildren is not in their benefit. That instead of helping them to cope up with their neurodevelopmental problem, you're worsening them. So this is what I always tell them about grandparenting and parenting ego. And it's very funny because when I talk to grandparents and they complain about the parents, I say, yes, I totally understand. I'm on the same page. But you have to deal with your grandchildren. So let's come on the same page. And same thing I tell parents. And once they get some third person to ventilate, who says, yes, the grandparents are really bad, but we have to go on. And tell the parents, tell the grandparents, the parents are really bad, but we have to get along. They come together. This is like a mediation in a diverse case or something. Second, Samir talked about overperformance or overachievement. I tell you, way back in 1991, when I started my adolescent clinic in Bombay Hospital, I got a mother who came and took my appointment. So I said, what is wrong? Any problem? She said, no problem. My child is okay, but he's very average. So I want you to motivate him to achieve something. So I said, why do you say your child is average? Madam, हमारे सब neighbors के जो है ना, वो उसको कभी स्पोर्ट्स में ट्रॉफी मिलती है, कोई इंडियन आइडल पे जाके ये मिलता है, मेरा बच्चा ना कुछ भी प्राइज नहीं लाता है. So I feel very frustrated, कि my child is very average. So I took her through this process. I said, how is your child with the neighbors, with the grandparents, etc.? He said, ma'am, everybody praises him. He's one of the most polite, well-behaved, helpful child. I said, how is he in studies? Has he ever failed? No, ma'am. He may not come first, but he's always in the first five. So I took her through the whole gamut, showing how normal and wonderful the child is. I said, does your child take part in sports? Yes, ma'am. Club में तो बिल्कुल खेलता है, but madam कभी inter competition में नहीं जाता है. He hates competition. At the end of which, I told him, you have a golden boy. He is wonderful. He's got a holistic personality development. He's popular. He's doing well in studies, and he's doing all sports. Only he's not receiving trophies because some children do not like to compete. They are not interested in being in the limelight and always achieving. Your child is not a trophy bringer. So just because your child doesn't bring trophies, don't make him feel small and don't reduce his self-esteem. And just concentrate on his positive things. He'll be a wonderful human being. And that child today is a gold medalist. He's now 27 years or 30 years old, and he still comes to me for advice. So your child need not be a performer, an achiever. He's not something which you show off to your neighbors. Ki mere bacche ne ye laya, bacche ne wo laya. You have to accept that an average person is happier and more accomplished and enjoys more life than the constant overachiever or a competitor. Yeah, go ahead.
So, madam, everything has to come to, and it's, I think, more than
Hey, Samir.
our. Yeah. I am not
Once-
completing.
On madam's, what she said is so wonderful. I just wanted to say a little funny thing to make the atmosphere a little more funnier. With your permission, ma'am. I heard in the recording of Osho say this. एक आदमी एक सर्कस मैनेजर के पास जाता है और बोलता है कि आपको कोई नायाब अनूठी चीजों से कोई इंटरेस्ट है, रुचि है. तो सर्कस मैनेजर बोला है हमारे काम ही है ये अनोखी चीजें दिखाना, उस पर तो सर्कस चलती है, क्या लाए हो आप? तो बोलता है मेरे पास एक कुत्ता है जो पियानो बजाता है. तो ऐसा तो हो ही नहीं सकता है. रुको, बाहर जाता है आदमी, एक सूटकेस ले आता है, उसमें से एक कुत्ता, छोटा कुत्ता निकालता है, एक पियानो निकालता है और बच्चा कुत्ता बैठता है और पियानो बजाने लगता है. मस्त मोजार्ट, बीथोवन बजाने लगता है. वो सर्कस मैनेजर तो शौक हो जाता है, कमाल है यार, ये तो मैंने कभी लाइफ में देखा ही नहीं. वो आदमी भी खुश होता है. उतने में एक बड़ा कुत्ता रूम में आता है, छोटे कुत्ते को गर्दन से पकड़ के बाहर ले जाता है. सर्कस मैनेजर शौक हो जाता है, वो आदमी भी नाराज होता है. सर्कस मैनेजर को पता नहीं क्या हो गया. वो सर्कस मैनेजर, ये क्या था, ये कौन था? तो ये आदमी बोलता है वो छोटे कुत्ते की माँ है, वो उसे डॉक्टर बनाना चाहती है.
So true, Samir.
Yes. So, ultimate conclusion is that majority of time the problem is in the behavior of the parents and grandparents and their over expectation and over achievement what they expect from their children. Children are the want to become a normal. They want to remain a normal, but we want that they should achieve something. So हम लोगों को अच्छा लगे. So that should be the our attitude. अपना change होने का ज़्यादा जरूरी है. बच्चे के behavioral से ज़्यादा discussion. What I conclude is that this is a very important message. What you and the madam is saying, that is the important thing. Come on a one page that the everything is normal for your child, and what is your normal that you have to put on that page, and that you have to teach your children, rather than directly going on bombarding with everything that coming onto the stereotype manner. Nothing is stereotype. Everything is a tailor made for the each and every different child. And we have to accept that thing. एंड काफी अभी और ग्रैंड पेरेंटिंग के बारे में अपने सेशंस में हम लोग लेने वाले हैं. And just before concluding the session, I just give few word about our upcoming session के बारे में थोड़ी बात कर लूं. So after the just completion of the end of this session, we having a one very important international forum session, that is a grandparenting of new era. And इसके अंदर भी हम यूनाइटेड स्टेट वर्सेस इंडियन सिनेरियो के बारे में और डिफरेंट इश्यूज रिलेटेड विद ग्रैंड पेरेंट, क्या क्या डिफरेंट स्टाइल हो सकती है, क्या क्या ग्रैंड पेरेंट कर सकते हैं, उसके लिए वी हैव ए इंटरनेशनली known adolescent specialist Dr. Ronald Grandes is there. He himself is one of the team of grandparents. He has, along with her two eminent grandparents, we have Dr. Swati Bhave and Dr. Anuradha Suvani. So they will really discuss a lot about that thing along with me as a parent, as a mediator, Dr. Samir Shah, on the 22nd of July at 7:30 p.m. Saturday. So don't miss this session. And just I'm concluding the thing with a very good note that whatever be your age, if you are planning for tomorrow, you are still young to achieve. And thanks a lot for it today. Thank you to all the viewers of today's program, and along with our two experts, Dr. Samir Dalwai and Dr. Swati Bhave, madam. Thanks a lot for your excellent enlightenment on the topic. What we are never expecting is such type of the things we can discuss with that behavioral issue. What we are thinking, what majority of people are thinking, this will be related with a behavioral problem related tackling, but you had given a total different insight of that thing. Thanks, Samir bhai, for this excellent talk. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So we conclude this today's session. Thanks. Okay.
Thank you so much, everyone.
I sincerely thanks the ClearNet for the very flawless presentation of that Zoom platform, and there is no any technical hints for this. Thanks to ClearNet.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for sharing your valuable insights, and thank you for being with us. Hoping to see you again on the